Ahoy, ahoy. Welcome to this week's episode of the DCL Show, where we help you navigate the waters of Disney Cruise Line. I am your captain, Craig Williams, and joining me on this sailing today, we have my co-captains, including Captain Elaine Edwards of Dreams Unlimited Travel.
Hi, friends.
We have Chris Forbeck, Captain Chris Forbeck. Sorry, apologies, Captain of Dreams Unlimited Travel.
Hi there. Great to be here.
Thank you. And we have Captain Jackie Gailey of DCLFan.com.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you all for joining me today. We are going to have a great episode where we answer questions from the DCL fan Facebook group. You asked them many, many months ago, and we're finally getting around to answer them. So hopefully they're not all out of date asking questions about when do you think we'll get to know more information about that Disney treasure ship that's coming. Those won't work, but everything else will, I'm sure. Hey, I want to remind you about Dreams Unlimited Travel. If you like our content, you want to support us, book a vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. It costs you no extra money. You get the support of a Dreams Unlimited Travel agent. And yeah, it really does help us out a lot. And if you book a Disney Cruise Line vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel, guess what? You get free money for your cruise. And who wouldn't want free money for your cruise? I mean, it comes in the form of a cruise credit, but not a cruise credit. What's onboard credit? I don't even know the terminology myself. I don't get that when I book a vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. So I'm not lucky. If you work for the company, you don't get it, but you will as long as you don't work for the company. So head over to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com today and get a free no obligation quote and that onboard credit. And don't work for the company, so you can get that. Anywho, let's move on to those questions. And Elaine is going to be the question master for today. I hope she selects some good ones. We'll see.
So we are, as Craig said, so I made this post in the DCL fan Facebook group. If you've not already joined, come on over to the group in Facebook. You can ask all of your cruise questions there. You can post pictures of your cruise. You can it's all cruise all the time. So we have a good time there. So come on over if you haven't already. So I made this post back when we were originally planning a Q&A show, and then we didn't do it. And so it has sat here for exactly 22 weeks. And so here we go. First question is, what is the best time of year to sail Alaska? So just to preface this question, Alaska sailings do not go all year. They are only May through September. So when do you all like to sail Alaska?
Okay. It all depends on, obviously, when you can cruise and then your budget and what your expectations are for Alaska. I usually, if I'm remember this correctly, and one of the agents can help me if I'm wrong with this, it's typically cheaper at the beginning of the season and the end of the season. With the beginning of the season, you know, it's in that period where you can still get a lot of cold days. It's not necessarily like peak summer, and that can also happen at the end. So it's definitely it's an interesting time to travel. I've traveled in June. I've traveled in, I think it was July when I did it with my family. And then we did it in, was that August or September when we took August?
Yeah. So it was almost the end of August.
Yeah. So I've kind of hit 3 different time periods with it. When I traveled in July, that was kind of the most normal in terms of temperature while I was at the different ports. The only caveat on that was we did a one-way cruise that went from Vancouver all the way up to Anchorage. So once we started getting up into, the northern parts and close to Anchorage, it got very cold. But overall, unless it was like really late at night, it wasn't super bad. Needed shorts and a t-shirt for that, but I definitely liked the 2 ends of the season because you have a better chance at feeling more like, oh, this is Alaska weather. This is what I expect from it. I know if you go very early, you're probably not going to see bears, and sometimes you struggle with some of the wildlife where I believe like once you get into September, a lot of times you have a lot of luck at seeing a lot of bears. When we went, we didn't get to a lot of the salmon were, swimming upstream and doing their jumping thing, but it felt like they were also already at that point. They were kind of given up and they weren't that exciting to watch. It was like, I'll just count the amount of dead salmon that you see floating down to the sea lions down below. So it honestly, it just depends. But I think overall my favorite one has been July when I've sailed, but that's just me.
So Craig did a really good job of summing it all up there. I don't really have anything that I can add to that. I've only sailed at the end of August. And I thought our weather was better than I thought it was going to be. I think I thought it was going to be colder and rainier, and we actually had a pretty sunny cruise overall, and it was warmer than I had anticipated it. And we did have a good amount of animal wildlife that I think is the pull of later in the season. Plus, the later you get, it is less expensive. But I know that for some people, when you get in that last week or two, the problems that are coming up is that a lot of the shops in the ports, the people that run them have already closed up for the season. So things may not be readily available. If you're really big into that special merch, all the Alaska merch on board is going to be sold out pretty much. So you're not going to have anything there. So those are kind of the downsides of waiting a little bit later in the season. There is a graph out there that I have saved that I'll see if I can find it and post it in the DCL fan Facebook group. That is a kind of like a bar graph, and it's got all of the months, and it says like what animals you're most likely to see, what months you'll see like northern lights, the temperatures, like all of that kind of thing. And it's kind of just shows all of those things. And it's kind of good to help you kind of narrow down what's important to you as far as when's a good time to go.
We get this question a lot about when's the best time to go. Well, the best time to go is when you can go. When can you get time off? Do you have to take kids out of school? Things like that. So there's all sorts of those factors. It's going to be more crowded during the heat of the summer, July and August, than it is in the off-peak times. And Elaine's so right. We did it one time late. We did it in September, one of the late cruises, and a lot of the stores were closed. And so just be aware of that. It was very nice. It was lovely. We still had a fantastic time, but it's different than going in July or August. So.
Very good. Elaine, what do we have next?
All right. So what is your favorite excursion on Castaway Cay?
I've never done one. So besides like the bike rentals, so I can't answer that question, but rent a bike. That's always fun. Anyone else?
Yep.
Has anyone done an excursion on Castaway Cay?
So I have actually several excursions on Castaway Cay, and they've all gotten canceled every time I book them. I tend to sell in September, which is hurricane season, and there's just, because of the high winds, a lot of them, any of the like parasailing or going out on any of the boats, they'll cancel those for high winds. So anytime I've booked any excursion, it's always gotten canceled. But as Craig said, rent a bike, or if you like to run or walk, doing the 5K out there is kind of fun because they'll give you a medal and you kind of get to see things that maybe you don't get to see from the beach, and you can climb up on the water tower and you can see the whole island from there. So that's fun. And the only other thing that I've done is renting the cabana and hanging out on the beach. So yeah, unfortunately, while I've tried, I haven't been able to fill any excursions on Castaway.
We've had the same experience. We've booked a couple different ones before, and they've gotten canceled. So we booked a Stingray experience. I heard that was really cool. And I wanted to send my husband on a fishing excursion, and that got canceled. And Yeah, there was a glass bottom boat excursion, I think, and that got canceled too. Yeah, so we unfortunately haven't gotten to do any either.
And I'm going to complete the list. I also haven't. I've had mine canceled as well. We always do. We love to rent the bikes. We love to snorkel because they have great. They have things planted down there so you can snorkel and see Mickey down there and stuff. So it's a great place to snorkel, and they actually have decent fish. So that's what we mostly do.
Yeah. And beyond the fish, you never know when you'll see sharks there. I've seen a shark. It freaked me out because I was swimming alongside by the Nautilus, and it's like, that's a long fish, and I'm like, oh, that's a shark. That was freaky.
Oh boy.
I've also seen sea turtles that were swimming in the snorkel area, which is just so incredibly cool to see up close. So snorkeling is it's pretty awesome. But yeah, Castaway Cay, maybe stick with that stuff. Don't worry about the excursions. Do the excursions at your other stops. What do we have next, Elaine?
So we have questions, and this is one that I get a lot about travel insurance as far as options, certain things to look for. How good is Disney's travel insurance? Is it worth the cost? That kind of thing. And here's the thing, and then my disclosure, that if you've watched this show for any amount of time, you've heard me say that I am not a licensed not a licensed insurance agent. So I cannot legally answer any of those kind of questions. All I can do is provide you with information about where to find travel insurance. Disney Cruise Line does offer their own travel insurance that is equal to 8% of your fare of your cruise, and it only covers the things that are booked with your reservation. So if you add on a pre-night hotel and transfers, all of that is covered under their policy. If you book a hotel on your own and not adding it on through Disney Cruise Line, it's not covered. Your flights booked on your own are not covered. Disney Cruise Line also, a lot of people feel like it's more expensive than other options. It's because it does also include a 75% cancel for any reason add on to the policy, that if it is not considered a covered reason, so like you broke your leg and you're in the hospital, would most likely be considered a covered reason where they would refund you your money for your cruise that you missed. Deciding to cancel because you want to go to your friend's wedding, probably not a covered reason. So that would fall into that 75% guarantee that they would give you. It is a 75% cruise credit for a future cruise is what that is. So other options, we always like to recommend checking out insuremytrip.com. You can compare lots of different travel policies through many third parties that way and find what you need and what is important to you to have covered. Consider everybody that is traveling with you in your party, any pre-existing conditions that they might have, how likely it is that your plans are going to change, that kind of thing. I can't tell you to buy insurance, but what I can tell you is you are in any cruise, you are leaving the country. And it is very likely that your own health insurance plan does not cover you. So just take that into account, that a helicopter ride off the ship is about $10,000. So that's all I can legally say. Chris, do you have anything to add about that?
Yeah, no, I'm exactly following. I mean, we as travel agents, we see the worst case scenarios, and there just seems to be a conglomeration of the people who have the issues tend not to have insurance. So I personally, I travel a lot, so I have an annual plan. But I think going without anything, they're expensive trips, and there are also other things. People talk about credit cards. You go and do some research and be thoughtful about it, and definitely put it into something that you look at.
No. You might think that a $10,000 helicopter ride is expensive, but I also look at it as an opportunity to get photos and videos of the ship from an angle that you can't get from anywhere else, and sell that stock footage, and then you'll recover some of the costs. So there's ways out there for it. But Elaine, what do we have next?
I love that. Opportunist always.
People will pay for it. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Adult traveling without children, do you wish Disney offered more adult activities during the day, live music, etc.? If so, what would you like to experience?
I'll go first on this. I don't wish they offered more adult experiences during the day. I wish that they could somehow force more adults to stay out and experience the night, because there is nothing sadder than a Disney Cruise Line ship at night in the adult district after Match Your Mate and those kind of events end. It gets very sad very quickly, and it'll change for me now, because I'll most likely, if I'm cruising, I'll be cruising with my family, with my baby, so I'll finally be experiencing it differently. But yeah, when you're with a big group of adults and you realize, like, oh, if we weren't all together, there'd be nothing happening on this ship at night. Like, it's awkward feeling. So yeah, I don't need it during the day. I need it at night.
They're staying up until the crack of 10, Craig. They're like raring to go. No, it's true. You're not going to have the incredible nightlife at midnight. I was lucky. My son, I have traveled mostly with my son. My son, I was able to leave in the room and then go out and do Match Your Mate and stuff like that. I never worried about him getting into trouble. He was fine, and I told him that I was going. Some parents don't feel comfortable leaving their kid in the stateroom by themselves, and I totally appreciate that. You know your kid better than anybody else, so do what's best for you. But it is, I don't ever have a problem during the day, but I love going to a movie. I love going to the spa. I love a Palo brunch. There's plenty for me to do on board, and it hasn't been a problem for me, but,
yeah, I feel the same way about daytime. I think it's real fun to do a late Palo brunch and go to a movie. And we haven't really done too many spa things. We haven't done any spa things just yet, but I think it's just really fun to kick back and go watch a movie or two and just wander the ship if it's not in port during the day. I love to soak in all the details of the Disney ships. There's just so many. And, I like to not discount that. In fact, The Wish does a walking tour.
Oh,
so
really?
a lot of people have not heard of that. And they do that. And I hope that they still do it. It's really cool to be able to go on a walking tour where things will get pointed out to you that you may have missed. So
it's probably because they get lost and they never find their way back. So
very true.
Yeah. It's a good tip. What about you, Elaine? How do you feel about adult stuff during the day?
So I guess during the day, I don't know about during the day, because that's what I say. I feel like either you're out at port doing stuff, or I like to buy the Rainforest Room Pass because I like to take a 2-hour nap on the Tower Loungers. I like going in the pools. I think it's just more overall. I wish there was more adult activity and, like Craig said, people that will actually do them. Because that's the thing. Like, I'm an activity-based person. I really like doing stuff. I have a hard time sitting still and relaxing unless I'm napping, as we've established. So I really like finding things to do. And there's a lot of times that on a Disney cruise ship, I'm just like, I don't know, I have anything to do. Like, what do I do now? Because you do kind of just run out of those things as an adult. Especially, once you get past 10 o'clock, there's just not really anything to do. So I will go up at like 11 o'clock. I'll go up on the top deck and just walk laps around the ship because there's nobody up there and there's something for me to do. So
I think we ran into you doing that actually during the last cruise, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say a great adult activity during the day. If you find yourself like trapped in the pub at some point in time, they'll probably have one of the diamond experts come in and lead a discussion on whatever rare diamond is that's disappearing into the wild that you'll never see again, tanzanite or hearts on fire or whatever it's called. And the way that some people are so engaged in these presentations is like just mind-boggling to me. It's like it's when you're like, oh, I understand how people get involved in Ponzi schemes. It makes perfect sense. But I'm just like sitting there rolling my eyes like, you gotta be kidding me. So it's a fun activity if you're not taking it seriously. And if I just offended someone out there who enjoys sitting through those presentations, I fully apologize. It was not my intention, but they're wild. So Elaine, I need to move on from that now because I'm afraid I offended half of our audience. Do we have another question?
So sticking with the adult theme, which ship would you recommend for 2 adults that have never cruised before?
Ooh.
Who's going first? I need to think for a second.
I can go first. I am going to say the Dream. I haven't been on the Fantasy, but I can only assume because they're sister ships that it would also be a recommended one. I feel like the Dream has a lot going for it as far as things for adults to do. They do. I like their rainforest room the best and their spa the best because they have 2 very large hot tubs that are on an outside. It's like an enclosed veranda. So you're kind of like out in a bubble and you can actually see like the captain's bridge from those hot tubs. And I could sit out there for all afternoon and be perfectly happy because it's mostly private because you're not out in a hot tub out on deck with 100 people around you walking by. So it's a lot more calm. It's a lot more quiet. Plus you do have things too, besides the ocean, you have the captains right there and it's just a lot more relaxing. So I really like that. So I do like the spa and the rainforest room on the Dream the best. I think that there is a good number of adult bars and lounges and they're all very different from each other. Plus they're all together. So you have that whole district going for it. So I just think that is my opinion as far as rating. If you go class by class, so if you have the Wish in one category and you have the Fantasy and the Dream in one, then you have the Wonder and the Magic in the other, I would go with the Dream and or the Fantasy. So
yeah, I probably agree with you as I think about it. I'm probably not the best person to ask this question because if I'm on a Disney ship, I'm pretty happy. But and I will agree with Elaine. We actually did we were leaving Port Canaveral one time, and we were in those chairs on the Disney Dream, and it was a lovely place to do our wave away. It's gorgeous, and those hot tubs are spectacular. I think all of the ships have places that are adult focused, and they're all great. I don't think I could. It's like Sophie's choice for me. I think they're all awesome. So I'm not helpful. Sorry.
I will say for me, I think I would choose the Magic. I might be biased because that's just my favorite ship in general, but I think the Aqua Dunk is one of those, like, it's a very short slide, but it's a little bit more thrilling. So I feel like, it's not as accessible as the Aqueduct and the Aqua Mouse, where you get a lot more kids riding it. A lot of people are afraid of the fact that, drops you down and you slide out. So it helps with that in terms of thrilling activities for a little bit older people. I prefer the setup for the adult districts on the classic ships. I feel like with the Dream and Fantasy, even though they're well designed, well themed, and there's little rooms to escape, like between Skyline and whatever Bubbles is called, the pink and all that. Like I feel like there's still set up where you can hide away, but I feel like I do better on the Magic and even the Wonder, where it's like, okay, it's all right in that area. You're going to get kids walking through regardless of what time it is. But I feel like once you're in those bars, you're kind of further back and separated. And then for me, the Magic has O'Gills, which is just my favorite place to hide away on a cruise. And I even like that as an adult on the Magic, when you have the day where Tangled takes over O'Gills, it's like it's a way to then blend in adult activities, but mixing in with that Disney magic as it becomes the Snuggly Duck Lane, and being in those, like being in the Tangled restaurant, I feel like is the way to blend Disney magic for kids, but also with adults in a way that feels a little bit more natural than maybe with the Frozen. I should say the Tiana one on the Wonder is pretty awesome too. I actually think that might be a little bit more adult centric even than just for kids. So I think they're nice little touches. But yeah, for me, it's the Magic. I'd throw the Wonder in too, but I like the Magic slightly more than the Wonder. Jackie?
See, and at first I was going to say the Dream also, but then I've had a few minutes here to think. And once I went on the Wonder, I loved the smaller classic style of the Wonder. And I can hardly wait to step foot on the Disney Magic one day, because I love that you like that one just a little bit more. So that makes me really intrigued, and I want to go on that one. But here's the thing, and this might not be the most popular opinion out there, but I think that the Disney Wish is for people who are really hardcore Disney fans, like Disney storytelling. If you're a fan of the parks and just, Disney films, Disney storytelling, like I said, I think that the Disney Wish is a really cool choice for a first-time cruise, because you really get to see everything that they've put into so many different stories and how they've incorporated that into that ship. So especially at the restaurant that's called 1923, you can see all kinds of props and different everything from drawings to sculptures from all these movies that you just don't see that anywhere. And I soaked up every ounce of magic that I possibly could in that restaurant. And I tried to visit it even when they weren't open, if they would let me, just to look at all of those things. There's details on the designs of the little sculptures that are at each stateroom door, and you can see the color palettes and just a really in-depth look at the design of that ship. And I am so into that. And so kind of to go along with those first cruisers doing a 3-night cruise, I think because right now the Disney Wish is doing the 3 and 4 night cruises out of Port Canaveral, I think that ship, even though its layout might be a little awkward to those of us who have cruised on the other Disney ships in the fleet. I think that the Wish has so much magic in a lot of the nooks and crannies everywhere. And there's just so many of Disney's stories for extreme Disney fans in that ship. And I don't think that you should miss it.
It's true. But if you're also adults that don't want to be surrounded by kids, this ship is just not designed properly in that way. Besides Keg and Compass, like the bar layouts just aren't great. Millennium Falcon, it's not a great lounge, and that is one that's like actually fortunate enough to be closed off from anything. But I just feel like part of the awkward design of it all just doesn't give adults really that many places to escape besides, the tiny little adult section in the back of the ship, and then Keg and Compass, and that's it.
But
so while it is, what's that?
What about Nightingales?
Nightingales to an extent, but I mean, it is right off the lobby. So unless the piano's going and it's loud and noisy, it to me, it's still kind of drained in a little bit. That's just me though. I get hyper aware of those types of things, but I just from an adult perspective, if you're an adult who feels like you want that escape and you want to be able to get away, even like saying, "Oh, well, just go see a movie." Well, the movie theaters hold 18 people total, I think, and they can get pretty loud in there, especially if kids like staying up late and going to see movies. So it's a great family ship. I don't know if I would ever recommend it to two adults, but that's just me. Elaine?
Yeah, so talking about Nightingales, I loved Nightingales. I really, really, really loved it, but the whole front of it is glass, and it's in a very main hallway. So the whole time people are walking by and they're staring in at you. So I felt like I was in a fishbowl the whole time that I was in there. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
But not to discount your opinion, Jackie. It's just
no, because I went on. Yeah, like I was on it with adults. Right. Of course, because our kids are grown, and oh man, I loved it. But I think, I'm not the biggest fan of the size of the adult only area. So that's definitely something to, definitely take into consideration there. But I really loved, my husband went and did, he got a haircut and a shave at the Barbary, and there's just certain things that are just the coolest to me.
There is no doubt they found a way with the Wish to add in a lot of very cool things for adults. It just comes down to the bad layout of the ship that kind of mixed it all up. And it, again, with families, it's fine. If it's also nice too, like if you're with your family and, you're sitting in Hook's Barbary drinking old fashions all day, at least they know exactly where you are and can peek in the door and see. You're not hidden away, in the darkest corner of the darkest bar. But yeah, I think some adults could be turned off by how open and accessible it is in every part of the ship. But we could probably do a whole show just having a discussion about the Wish and who it's meant for and why they laid it out the way they laid it out, and why do we have two more ships coming that are going to be laid out the exact same way because there wasn't enough time to change those plans and make those different decisions. But we'll have to see if we get to that point in time. But I think that's going to do it for this part of the Q&A. Elaine said they had 68 questions, and I think we only did 5 or 6. So there will be many more. But we'll just have to wait for that. Until then, thank you so much for listening and watching. I hope you enjoyed it, appreciated it. If you want to support us, book a vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel and support the Dreams Unlimited Travel agents that are on this show. And that would include Elaine, of course. Elaine, how does everyone get in touch with you?
You can email me at elaine@dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
And Chris, what about you?
I am Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
Thank you very much. And of course, if you want to read more of Jackie's amazing content about Disney Cruise Line, I mean, even just Disney in general, you can find that at the DIS, but specifically, you can read all of her great articles over at DCL Fan. So, Jackie, thank you for all the hard work making Disney Cruise Line content.
It is my pleasure.
Thank you. So, if you want to support us more, you can always subscribe to us here on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, and then leave comments, questions, video suggestions in the comments section. If you're listening to this podcast, you can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us ratings and reviews when possible. But that's it for this voyage of the Disney Cruise Line show. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and watch it. We will be back again real soon with another episode of the DCL show. But remember, you can only get to Castaway Cay on Disney Cruise Line.